Welcome, Deborah, to Growing Pains. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have this conversation. You and I have been working together for the past 4 months or so on
Mhm.
your maternity leave. And I'll tell you something, I have just adored getting to know you, getting to know your business. And I'm so excited for the listeners of the show to also get to know you a little bit here during our conversation. So, can you just pull back the curtain a little bit? Let us know what type of business you currently are running and are involved in, and a little bit about your family at home.
All right. So, business wise, I am an industrial organizational psychologist or an IO psychologist, which is basically that we take everything that we know from psychology and we use it to make better workplaces. That's kind of what we do. And so that's something that is not very known in Puerto Rico, but which is where I am, by the way. And I do that and HR consulting here for myself. So I do that half time, like part time. And then the other part of my time, I am administrating, like running ops, like you would love, and running ops part of an aquatic wellness center that is my family's business. So, I'm involved in both. I'm doing one completely by myself for myself. And then I am a big part of another small business that has been growing for the past 18 years. So it's been a wild ride. And then you said to talk a little bit about like online, right?
Yeah, your family.
Yeah, okay. So my family currently consists of my cat and my husband. We are expecting our first baby this September. We're very excited. And my family is also like my immediate family, my mom, my brothers. We're very close, as all Hispanic families tend to be.
Honestly, have you always known that you were going to be an entrepreneur because you grew up in a very entrepreneurial family?
Yes, and you don't even know the half of it. Like my two brothers, they're older than me, and they both have their own businesses as well. So it's like, well, we had the entrepreneurship gene, I guess. We just saw our mom doing it really early on, and just how she did it, and the risk that she took, and her passion for what she does has always inspired each and every one of us to actually follow our passions as well. And I guess doing it for ourselves and taking that risk and loving the freedom that comes along with that, I think she gave us that and we really enjoy it.
That's amazing, honestly. I feel like I can go one way or the other. Sometimes if it's a great experience, you're like, "Yes, give me all the entrepreneurial projects." And then if it feels a little bit overwhelming, folks may just go the opposite direction and be like, "I'm just gonna get a really safe corporate job."
Yeah, I could have gone the other way, definitely. I do love that my husband has the very traditional corporate job. It
Mm.
gives us the best of both in terms of our relationship, at least, but I could just not do that. I love the entrepreneurship route.
When I became a mom, I remember thinking and viewing my mom in a very different light. And I wonder if that came up for you, especially too with your chosen role. I remember when I was first, becoming a mom and I had Frank, and there was a lot of challenge. I mean, you know my story. A lot of the listeners know the story of, how quickly I came back into the business after I had my first son. But I remember feeling like I had chosen the wrong profession. I was like, entrepreneurship and motherhood, it just needs so much of you on either side. So, what did you feel like, I guess, when you were planning for this season of becoming a mom, like witnessing your mom? Like, what things did you love that she did as kids, like growing up?
That's such a good question. And I feel like as this process of being pregnant, like I'm seeing her in such a different light and I'm even more impressed with everything that she did.
Yes, right?
Right? Like with three kids, she's a single mom, by the way. Like she did this all on her own. So I see her in a different light, definitely. I think I'm gonna see her in an even different, more different than that whenever I have my kid. But what did I love about the process? I love that she made us part of it.
Mm.
Um, I guess some people will be like, don't put your kids to like kind of work in the business. But at the same time, it's not, she never forced us like away, but we always saw her just working really hard for what she wanted. And that gave us the responsibility as well of being like, oh, you want something in life, you work for it. She kind of instilled that value in us. So I love that since I was 15, I've been working in the business in some capacity or another. Very chill, very detached, but I felt like I was contributing in a way. It's a very community centered center. So these people have seen me grow as a woman, and I've loved being near them and having those experiences. Because I went into the business really young, I lost that fear of like talking to adults.
Mm.
But like very early on, I was involved in this, and I was also involved in a way that allowed me to appreciate a lot of functional diversity, just diversity in general. So I love that she gave us that opportunity to just be like, come into the business, look at this. It's gonna be really good for you because we obviously got paid something, right? And that was really good. But she also instilled in us the value of work, and we became part of an even bigger community. And that's the thing that I really, really appreciated.
Mm.
But it did not come without complications, right? Like
Of course.
she worked 12 hours some days. Like that's just the reality of the matter. And so we had to learn patience and we had to share her with the business in a way. But it always came from a place of she wanted the best for us. And I think we really saw that. So I never resented the business, which is something that I think might happen for some people. But in that case, it really inspired us more than it took away, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like your mom did a beautiful job of kind of integrating both. I think a lot of the rhetoric with my employed friends and family is that you almost have to kind of, put things in one life and then put other things in the other life, like compartmentalizing the two. And I think you can do that in a business as well, right? Especially something that requires your physical presence, right? You can be like, okay, I'm going to get a babysitter, I'm going to get a nanny, but integrating the kids into the business, I think is really beautiful too, because to your point, it really does show them that they can create something out of nothing, right? They can create
Really?
whatever they want. And I think that is such an important thing at such an early age to learn. So I'm glad your mom gave you that gift and your siblings too.
Yeah, and I do think that it was because we were a little bit older. Like she started this about 25 years ago. I'm about 32 right now. And so I feel like with kids, like smaller kids, you would know more about this. I think it's a little bit more challenging, but I guess we'll find out in a couple of months.
I mean, have you talked to your mom about how she kind of worked on that? Was she employed when she had you guys,
Right.
like when you were little? Okay. So what was that transition like? Have you talked to her about it?
Yeah, a little bit. Our grandparents were a really big part of our upbringing, so
Mm,
they did not work. And so we stayed a lot of our time. She was able to stay with me for about 4 years because she didn't work during that period. But then afterwards, it was like she working all the time. So it was a very
mm,
like stark transition because she had a divorce. And then so after that, basically like we had a village, like grandparents, aunts and uncles, like we took care of each other in that way. So that was a lot more challenging for her. And that's something that really inspired her to eventually like leave corporate and actually do something for herself. And we hear that a lot, right? People, women
absolutely.
especially going to entrepreneurship because of the flexibility that it can afford them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, a lot of times too, the flexibility, of course, comes with some kind of price, right? In terms of your time and your energy and being able to invest in the early stage growth. And a lot of times when, we start to work with moms, they've got an established business and they're like, okay, I'm in startup mode and the business is taking a lot of my time. And now I want to press pause. So when you knew that you wanted to grow your family, what were some of the early stage things that you were considering about, your time and your business and some of the projects that you're involved in, as you're kind of welcoming a new little one into the world?
I guess you don't know what you don't know. And I guess my first thought was, I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, right? I
Mm,
feel like my first thought was really defeatist in the sense that I was like, I'm ready to be a mom. I'm ready, right? But then I was like, oh, my business. Oh, I do trade hours for dollars right now. I don't see how I can do this without just being like pressing complete pause in my business. And I remember just like not really wanting to think about it, just thinking about the trying to conceive and like just talking with my husband and like we're gonna start a family, like trying to ignore that a little bit. And I remember the day and where I was in my car and I was listening to a podcast that had you as a guest. I don't remember the podcast right now. And the word self-employed maternity leave came up and I was like, that is it. That's what I need, right? It's like you don't know what you don't know because I was just like, I kind of don't want to think about it. I know it's a thing. I didn't even have the vocabulary to actually like Google search it. And then those words appeared and I'm like, that's what I need to be thinking about, like how it changes my business or how I need to change and how my approach needs to change so that I can actually do this in a way that feels good for my family, but also keeps my business running. Right. So I feel like I just didn't know a lot at that point.
It's so interesting that you bring that piece up because I think as business owners and type A, high performing women, I see this all the time. We are so good at figuring it out and figuring it out on the fly that we almost shoot ourselves in the foot, for lack of a better term, because we're like, oh, I'll just figure it out and I'll think
Yeah.
about that problem when it comes up. I did the same thing for my first maternity leave, and I remember feeling in the kind of wake of postpartum, like, "Allie, you know better. Why didn't you try to figure something else out?" And then, of course, like, I vowed to do it differently the second time, but, like, it's just so interesting how common it is, especially for business owners, to just kind of wait to solve the problems and kinda go at it on the fly. So, what kind of was your initial plan that you put together for your maternity leave? How did you start to kind of, I guess, convince yourself that you could actually do this, that you could actually take one?
Well, I started just consuming a lot of the content that you were putting out there for about like 2 or 3 months. I was just like, oh, this is something that I need to start thinking about. But it's like you said, like if a client had come to me and said, hey, Deborah, like I need to take a maternity leave. I'm a self-employed woman. What do I do? I would have been like, oh, of course, like systems and ops, and let's get you like that makes sense if somebody had told me outside of,
Mhm.
but like I did not think for myself that those were things that I needed or needed to consider. So I just love that you said that. So yeah, I definitely wanted to figure it out on the fly. But then I started understanding a little bit more. I didn't understand a lot more until I really got into the bond program. But I started thinking about, okay, so like money, but it wasn't only money, right? It's like, it's money, but it's also, do I hit complete pause? I have an assistant now. Can she do some things? And I started to consider other possibilities. That's kind of like it opened my mind to it not having to be like either I don't take one or I take one, I completely pause my business and everything has to go on pause because I go on leave. So it opened my just perspective that there could be things in between.
Yeah. I see that all or nothing mentality all the
Mhm.
time. You're like, I either need to just press pause entirely or I need to come back on Monday after Thursday giving birth. And so I find a lot of women are in this camp or the other. So let's talk about team because I know that was something that we worked on pretty heavily, right?
Mhm.
Who was going to take on the bulk of your responsibilities while you were away? So, what was kind of your first, I guess, emotional reaction to delegating things so heavily?
Well, the really good thing that I did was that I hired an assistant because I knew I needed to set SOPs. Like one of the first things that I had my assistant do, this was back in October of last year. I was like, everything's in my, it's in my head, right? I need to put it somewhere. I don't particularly enjoy writing SOPs. I know that they're super important. I don't love to write them. And I'm like, I need somebody to see it from the outside and actually make it better. Because I always think if you're going to delegate something, have somebody else do it better than you can.
Mhm.
So I hired my virtual assistant. I was kind of nervous about it. She has been a godsend. And we really worked on in that initial period. We didn't do anything client facing. I was just like, I need you to help me structure inside the business. I am going crazy. I don't love like if I do this for somebody else and they tell me, oh, this is the mess that I have in my organization, please organize it. I can do it. But like for myself, for some reason, I couldn't do it. So she started organizing everything. We got like my affairs in order when it came to everything from filing to client work and stuff like that. We created processes. And
Mhm.
that was so, so good. And I've always had a really good relationship with delegating, which I know is not the case with other people. But when it came to the business where I'm an administrator, that's kind of like where our conversations were more important to me because I was like, somebody is going to have to do what I do for
Mhm.
about 3 months. And that scares me because I do a lot of sensitive accounting, human resources, which takes a lot of just know how basically. And I was like, I don't know who can do this right now. And so you kind of like helped me see that somebody had to do it, or we would need to front load some of it, or we would need to put some things on pause, which was a thing that we could also do. But I think so for my own business, it was easier to delegate. But for the business where I'm an admin person, it was kind of harder to delegate.
It's really tough to see how you could step out, especially because when everything's flowing through you, I joke like you can't see the forest from within the trees or the label from within the bottle, like, insert your idiom there. It's difficult to imagine a world where you're out for an extended, period of time. And especially when things feel so sensitive. I know a lot of business owners feel challenged here with the financial side of things.
Mhm.
They feel really challenged sometimes when they're the lead salesperson. So revenue would need to stop if they step away and they're not in that sales seat or even delivering for their clients. So it's really, I think, helpful to be able to just envision what it could look like alongside another person, right? Who's completely outside of the business. What were your favorite, I think, things that we supported you with in your maternity leave planning? Because I know for every mom, it's a little bit different, and I'm always surprised, honestly, to hear the answers.
I think communication was a big module for me, especially like how information had to flow within the organization and then without the organization. So I remember very vividly your experience with Lauren. And so I kind of like you helped me do something very similar to that with my right hand here in the aquatic therapy business. So we are actually doing her like we did the development plan, we did the job description revision. We have talked to her. You helped me through how we needed to approach that conversation so that it felt authentic to her and authentic to me, and it could actually flow better because I did tell you that I had tried to do this before and it did not go very well. So that process of like how to communicate that and like even practicing a little bit in our coaching sessions, I think was really helpful. So that was like within the organization, but then also telling the client, I was very nervous about that. So, like, when to do it, what to say, the contingency plan so that they can just be like, okay, this is happening and it's fine and not losing any business because of it was really, really valuable. So, I think that was like, those were the two ones that I was like blown away by.
Oh, that's amazing to hear, honestly. And I'll tell you something. I mean, you know my story with Lauren very
Mhm.
intimately, but professionally developing her through my second maternity leave may have been the best business decision I've ever made, like ever. So I hope that anybody listening who's wondering if they can pass the baton, it is possible, not only, but
Mhm.
also I think the kind of underlying theme here is that people can surprise you. Like your clients want to support you and your
Mhm.
team wants to rise and move into incredible positions in the organization. And sometimes maternity leave can be a really cool forcing function for that. It can really help, I think, just shift things around in the organization. So, what are you most excited about for your leave? I think just being able to be with your family, being able to press pause and do all the things. What excites you most about being able to have this time?
Okay, I will answer that. But before that, I think something that also is very positive that I gained from the program was seeing maternity leave as that forcing function, as that
Mhm.
positive thing, right? And I feel like initially I was like, and even the rhetoric is like, there's a pay gap because of maternity leave. There's like all these things that are like bad about it. Like this is on pause. And it's like, I saw a LinkedIn, I don't know if you saw it, I think it was LinkedIn France that talked about maternity leave as like a job basically, that it gave you
Yeah.
a lot of skills. I'll send it to you if you haven't seen it. Everybody needs to watch. It was like gives like all the all-nighters, like gives you like resilience and like emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
Like you can put that on your resume. And it's been an amazing process as I go through this to see maternity leave as something completely powerful, completely positive. And it's an experience that I guess I didn't have before and I don't see people talking about it. So it's been that has been really, really amazing. But to your question, what am I most excited about? I think, yeah, just seeing everything happen and just being really confident that I can take that time off. I think not having the guilt during that time off is going to be amazing. I think I might have to work at it, right? They're still like 30, but having that time for my family, to bond with my baby, I'm really excited about it, but also like seeing things unfold and the world continuing will be kind of relieving, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
That's so amazing. And honestly, I mean, you just have the opportunity to be present, which is a gift. I mean, a lot of the challenge that comes along with maternity leave is because you have all these other things swirling around in your brain, or maybe you're working part-time, but just from home, but you're doing so in between feedings, and just creating that space for yourself to just be present and not feel like you're pulled in any other direction besides just being with your baby. It doesn't mean you can't work if you don't want to work on something, or if you do want to work on something. But I think just being able to have the space is probably, honestly, I know what I wanted in the first kind of, if I when I got a do-over my second time, I was like, "I just want the option." I just want the option to be able to work or not work, is really what it came down to.
Yeah, no, that space, I'm just really looking forward to it.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So, what is the vision for when you come back? I know we've talked quite a bit, and you know what we believe. We know maternity leave is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to allow people to rise, it's an opportunity to go through some more leadership development for yourself as a mom.
Mhm.
It's an opportunity to transition right into this new type of role and, of course, life. You can't really expect massive changes in your personal life not to affect your work. So, what do you see life looking like? Or even if you don't know fully, like what excites you about life in business after baby?
That is a great question. And it's something that, yeah, we talked on our last session. So it's still, the vision is still developing, but I am looking forward to having a more simplified and relaxed role within the company, like a family business, because I was carrying a lot, and this process of delegating will give me a little bit more space. So even though I will come back to work, I won't have that big of a load. So I'm going to be able to do, better at the few things that I am doing. So just a little bit like less of a load in that sense. I'm really excited to see how that unfolds. I love that it's a family business. So I'm going to bring like baby to the business. I'm super excited about that process. We'll see how it goes. I see her here, but I don't know how it's going to go in the logistics of it all. But I do like that I have that flexibility. And then, so for my own business, I am looking forward to trimming some services that I may not love to do and
Mm,
just staying with the services that I really do love, that are really more rinse and repeat, and that I can just leverage more. I want to leverage more of my business so that I have to work less intensely and just gain more and maybe grow my team at some point. But definitely working smarter, not harder, is going to be the name of the game in that vision that I see. And I've seen it. I've seen that it's possible. Like I always tell people, my first trimester, I had really bad morning sickness, and we talked about this at the beginning.
mhm.
I'm working less hours by a lot. and I had my best quarter that I've ever had in my business. So working smarter, not harder, is something that has been like, I have proof of concept. So I'm hoping that in that vision of whatever the future looks like with my new baby and how my family changes, I know that's going to have that's going to be a big part of it, because I want to have more present time with my baby, my family, and allowing those changes to not frustrate me because I want to go back to what it was before. I'm trying to
Mm.
like not try to think of it that way.
Yeah, I mean, an elevated version of what you're doing, right? I think
Yes.
that's the name of the game, is to just elevate, use your maternity leave to be able to take on the things that you still love doing, but then
Mhm.
not need to be caught in all the day to day. Because, I mean, it's interesting. A lot of the like delegation conversation is around, like offboarding, administrative tasks and, getting rid of things that don't light you up. But to somebody else, that could be the reason that they jump out of bed in the morning. That could be the
Mhm.
thing that they really do love doing. And so I even think just allowing, I love that you shared stepping out when you were, sick in the first trimester allowed you to thrive in that quarter, because that's an experience I think that hopefully helped solidify through
Mhm.
maternity leave and planning that this can actually work really, really well. And when we get out of our own way, we invite people to support us, like our team.
And to rise up, yeah, in
Yeah.
ways that they have not been able to do so before.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, it has been such an amazing pleasure to support you, to get to know you, to support your family, to champion like you making these shifts in your business and just be like a big time cheerleader. If there is a mom who is expecting currently or trying to conceive and she's running a business, what would you tell her if she's like, I think I have to get some support here, but I'm a little bit in disbelief perhaps that it could even happen, kind of like how you were driving in the car listening to that original podcast?
I would say it's an investment both in your business and in your family and in like as a leader, right? And I think you said it beautifully. If you are a person who loves growth, and especially like growth as a professional, growth as a person, the process will make you grow. Like the process of trying to conceive, getting pregnant, and obviously giving birth and postpartum. I still don't know, but I know it's gonna expand us in really important ways. But if this is something that's truly important to you, you will see it as an investment both in your business and in your personal life, because it's both. The course particularly, it touches on both. I remember being completely overwhelmed by the baby registry and Alyson being like, I have a checklist for that. And I was like, okay, right? And she had a checklist for things in your business, of course, but it felt really good to have that support in both of those spheres, because at the end of the day, they come together, right? They influence one another.
Mhm.
So it's an investment that touches two huge areas. So if you are thinking about it, just take that step, because it's really worth it. For me, at least, it was.
I'm so grateful, honestly. I always ask this question, but if you could go back like 6 months and talk to your past self, what would you encourage her with? Like, what would you be like so excited to share about what life looks like now versus then?
I love this question. Oh, wow. Yeah, this was probably November, December. I wanted to get pregnant so bad. I remember. And I had nothing planned. I just wanted to get to that point. And I think what I would say is the thing that you imagine how beautiful it's going to be, it's even more. It's going to challenge you in ways that you didn't know, and that's okay. But you're on the right path, I guess. That's what I would say to her in that moment, because it definitely feels like a journey and a good journey. But I guess in November, December, that Deborah probably didn't believe that it would happen fast enough, or that it was going to just be that I was going to be really supported. And I think, you worry, right? Like, am I going to have enough support? Am I going to have enough money to do this? All these worries come. And that's what I would say. Like, you will be supported in all the ways that you might be fearing or not. So go for it.
My gosh. And I just have to commend you too. Like asking for support is such an important piece to that. The fact that you were listening to podcasts and going and doing some of this research, I think a lot of us are scared to ask for help. We're scared to even ask the questions because either we're still in that kind of avoid it and deal with it down the road stage, which I very much was in my first pregnancy, or you're just maybe too proud might not be the right word, but it may not feel good or natural for you to raise your hand and be like, I really need support here. So hopefully everybody listening is hearing this conversation and feeling like, okay, like it's possible and I can ask for support if I need it, because that is also courage. It's very courageous to ask for help.
And I remember talking to my husband and just being like, I think I need this. And then I got him read like the website and just like, this is perfect. And like he doesn't know
Aw.
with like the ins and outs of my business. Like feel probably like the more this is exactly what we need. And like we made that decision together. And I think that that also really helps because I had him watching modules. Like that's just the reality. Look, I'm not gonna do this alone. This baby is ours. My business is also my baby. Come watch these things, especially like the financial one, and some other ones. And I don't know, it was also like a team effort at that point. So it was really nice to have him also give me input and that support that yeah, we need this as a family. So
Such a inspiring moment. I'm considering making a module for dads now.
I think a lot of the modules are very much like they if they support you as like an entrepreneur, then they need to know about these things as well and
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
ins and outs of the whole thing. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and chat with me about this and just for sharing about your experience. I hope that it inspires moms listening who might be feeling like they're feeling around in the dark a little bit on the experience. But honestly, it has been, like I said, such a pleasure to support you through this process.
thank
And
you so
thank
much.
you. Yeah, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you. And thank you so much for all of your guidance because it was truly again, you don't know what you don't know. So it was really great to know all these things and to feel a little bit more prepared. Like we can't prepare for everything, but I do feel more prepared and more confident about it.
Oh, that's amazing. So amazing. Thank you so much.